Non, c'est bien. Est-ce que je peux le jouer?
Well, the very first starting point was my friend James Sally, who I worked with many, many years ago, who was murdered in an execution-style killing in Harlem. And that was the first thing that opened my eyes to the idea that there was a world outside of my own world that was like exactly next to my world, but was completely different. Well, I went looking for somebody who was from the projects because I just realized that anybody that grew up in that environment was going to have some kind of a provocative or a compelling story to share. And Half was actually the 8th person that I met. But he was the very first person that could sign a contract, that could show up for a meeting, that would bring his crew with him, that he had clout, so I felt like I was safe. He was in a smaller project than some of the other projects that I'd been in. Yes, the shooting was dangerous. It was, I mean, I knew going in that it was going to be dangerous because I was going in and I was talking about danger and I was talking about violence and thinking about death. And the first day of shooting, before I was shooting with 1/2 mil, I was robbed in Brownsville, and my cameraman had a 9mm stuck to his head. But when I went into the Albany housing projects with Half, because he and his crew, you know, were affiliated with the Bloods, I was much safer. And he had a lot of influence in the neighborhood, so that kept me safer. And plus, I never went into the projects without having some kind of security with me, so I basically had a man with a gun. I called it Player Hating a Love Story because I was talking about the phenomena of player hating, which is about competition and which I believe is a form of the larger society's oppression of a marginalized community, that there's not enough room for everybody to have an abundant life or to have access to the kind of life that the average American has. And within the context of player hating, it's something that was being commercialized in the hip-hop music industry. And then when I went into the projects and I was talking to these guys about player hating and seeing the experience of it on a sort of a street level, what I didn't expect was that I was going to fall in love with these guys, which I absolutely did. And so it annoyed me after a conversation that I had with somebody when they said, it's so interesting that you're always talking about love when you talk about the guys that you work with, but the title is player hating. And so I thought, okay, this is a sort of a radical way to address race. So I'm going to call it Player Hating a Love Story. And it's about me loving them, and luckily for me, they loved me back.